I built a successful tech startup with my longtime friend Jake. We shared dreams, worked endless nights together, and created something special. When our company reached $2 million in valuation, I noticed subtle changes in his behavior. Documents mysteriously disappeared. Meetings happened without my knowledge. Just as I was about to confront Jake, I discovered something that would change my life forever. Before I tell you how my own business partner stabbed me in the back, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you have ever trusted the wrong person. I grew up in Portland, Oregon with big dreams but limited resources. My parents worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, and from an early age I understood the value of hard work and determination. While other kids played video games, I was building simple websites for local businesses charging just enough to buy computer parts. Technology fascinated me, and I knew someday I would build something meaningful. During my freshman year at the University of Washington, I met Jake Thompson in an entrepreneurship seminar. We clicked instantly. Jake was everything I was not: outgoing, smooth-talking, and connected. Where I excelled at coding and product development, Jake could sell ice to Eskimos. His charisma lit up rooms, and people naturally gravitated toward him. We complemented each other perfectly. "Maurice, you build it and I will sell it," Jake said during one of our late-night brainstorming sessions in the dorm. "Together we will change the world." After graduation, reality hit hard. I landed an entry-level programming job at a corporate software firm, spending my days fixing other people's code. Jake bounced between sales positions, but we never lost sight of our shared dream. Every weekend we met at my tiny apartment to work on our business plan. Next Level Solutions, Jake announced one night, revealing a logo he had designed. Software that empowers small businesses to compete with the big guys. I nodded in agreement. Simple, affordable tools that actually work. No enterprise bloat. No million-dollar price tags. We poured everything into our startup. I coded until 3 in the morning, then dragged myself to my day job 4 hours later. Jake used his lunch breaks to cold call potential clients. We sacrificed social lives, relationships, and sleep. My apartment became our unofficial headquarters, with whiteboards covering every wall and empty pizza boxes piling up in the corner. 6 months in, we landed our first major client, a regional bank in Seattle, looking to modernize their small business lending platform. The contract was enough for me to quit my day job while Jake continued working to keep us afloat. To Next Level Solutions, Jake toasted at a cheap Italian restaurant that night. And to you, Maurice, "I would not be here without you, brother. This is just the beginning." His words filled me with pride. We were not just business partners. We were family. I trusted Jake with my life, my dreams, and my future. When we secured our second and third clients, Jake finally quit his job too. We pooled our savings to rent a small office in a converted warehouse in downtown Seattle. The space was nothing fancy. Exposed brick walls, creaky floors, and temperamental heating, but it was ours. The day we moved in, I took a photo of Jake hanging our company sign on the door. His smile was as big as mine. Within a year, we hired our first 3 employees, 2 developers and an account manager. Watching them work at their desks, I felt a surge of accomplishment. We were creating jobs, building something meaningful, making our mark on the world. My girlfriend Stephanie visited the office one evening to bring us dinner. As we ate at my desk, she seemed unusually quiet. "What do you think?" I asked, gesturing proudly around our space. "It is amazing what you have accomplished," she said hesitantly. "But be careful with Jake." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Something about him seems too perfect. The way he tells every story to make himself look good. The way he always knows exactly what to say." She shrugged. "Just be careful." I dismissed her concerns immediately. Jake is the brother I never had. We built this together. There is no next level without both of us. How naive I was. How completely, utterly blind. As Next Level Solutions grew, so did our reputation. We expanded to 15 employees and moved to a larger office with a view of Puget Sound. Our client list included businesses across Washington, Oregon, and California. We were consistently profitable with projections showing we would cross the $2 million valuation mark by year end. Success changed things, though I did not see it at first. Jake leased a luxury apartment in Belltown and started driving a new BMW. Meanwhile, he insisted we needed to reinvest everything into the business and limit salary increases. The company is cash-strapped, he would say during our financial meetings. We need another 6 months of runway before we can take more out. I lived in the same modest apartment, drove the same used Honda, and reinvested my share of the profits as agreed. I believed in our vision that much. The first real warning sign came during a meeting with potential investors. I had spent weeks perfecting our technical presentation, explaining our proprietary algorithms and competitive advantages. Yet as I spoke, I noticed Jake subtly steering the conversation. Maurice helped implement my vision for the architecture, he told the investors. I realized early on that small businesses needed a completely different approach. My vision. I realized. I designed. Later, I confronted him in his office. That was my architecture, Jake. I developed it before we even met the first client. His face fell immediately. God, Maurice. I am so sorry. I got caught up in the moment. You know how I get with investors. He seemed genuinely remorseful. Let me make it up to you. The next day, an expensive bottle of scotch appeared on my desk with a handwritten note, to the true genius behind Next Level. I would be nothing without you. Jay, I forgave him. Of course I did. One mistake in 3 years of partnership seemed inconsequential. Then clients started calling about meetings I knew nothing about. Strategic decisions were made without my input. Documents I needed would mysteriously disappear, only to reappear later with slight modifications I could not quite place. Tara, one of our senior developers, pulled me aside after hours one day. Maurice, I thought you should know Jake has been holding strategy sessions with some of the team when you are out of the office. He asked us not to mention them to you because Maurice is too busy with the technical side. My stomach churned. That night I stayed late and did something I never thought I would do. I looked through our financial records in detail. The numbers did not add up. Certain expenses were categorized strangely, and there were transfers to accounts I did not recognize. The next morning I searched the business registration database and found Jake had formed a separate LLC 6 months earlier, Next Stage Technologies. When I asked him about it, his explanation came too quickly. Just a tax strategy our accountant recommended. It shields certain assets and intellectual property. Did I not mention it? It is all above board, Maurice. I will have the accountant explain it to you. The accountant never called. A week later, I discovered my administrator access had been restricted on several company accounts. The IT manager looked uncomfortable when I asked about it. Direct orders from Jake. He said it was a security protocol. Walking past Jake's office late one evening, I overheard him on the phone. Yes, everything is proceeding as planned. Once he is out of the picture, we can move forward with the real expansion. My blood ran cold. Who was he talking about? Surely not me. The next day, Jake introduced me to Lawrence Keller, a potential investor from San Francisco. As we shook hands, I had the strangest feeling I had seen him before. During his tour of our office, Keller mentioned specific details about our technology that we had never made public. Jake has kept me well informed, he said with a smile that did not reach his eyes. My paranoia grew. I could not sleep. My work suffered. Stephanie complained I was distant, constantly checking my phone, jumping when it rang. This is not healthy, Maurice, she said one night. You talk about Jake more than anything else. It is like an obsession. She was right, but I could not stop. I knew something was wrong. I just could not prove it. Then I found a draft business plan on the company server, one I had never seen before. It outlined a bold new direction for Next Level with Jake, prominently featured as the visionary founder. My name appeared twice in the 30-page document described as a technical contributor during the early phase. I also noticed our key clients now contacted Jake exclusively. Emails that should have included both of us were addressed only to him. When I asked our office manager about it, she seemed uncomfortable. Jake said you wanted to focus on product development and not be bothered with client communications. I had said no such thing. The final blow came on an ordinary Tuesday. I accidentally received an email meant for Jake. Our lawyer had sent it to both of us by mistake. The subject line, Founder Removal Process. Confidential. My hands shook as I opened it. The email detailed legal strategies for removing a co-founder from the company with minimal compensation. My name was mentioned specifically. That same afternoon, Jake asked to borrow my laptop for a client presentation because his was acting up. When he stepped out for a call, I noticed he had left a folder open. Inside were legal documents drafted weeks earlier outlining a case for forcing me out of Next Level Solutions. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever experienced. This was Jake, my best friend, my brother, the person I trusted most in the world. That night I stayed at the office until everyone left. Using my remaining admin privileges, I discovered Jake had been systematically transferring our intellectual property to his separate LLC. Patents we had filed together were being reassigned. Trademarks were registered under Next Stage Technologies, not Next Level Solutions. Even worse, I found email threads between Jake and our board members suggesting I was mentally unstable, that my paranoia was hindering company growth, that I had lost the vision and was holding Next Level back. I printed everything I could find and took it home, my mind racing with what to do next. Before I could formulate a plan, my phone rang early the next morning. Emergency board meeting at 9 a.m. Our office manager said, "Jake says your presence is required." I arrived to find Jake and all 4 board members sitting at the conference table along with our company lawyer. Folders were placed at each seat. The atmosphere was tense, clinical. Maurice Jake began without preamble. "We have brought you here today because we have reached a difficult decision." He spoke about company growth, strategic vision, and necessary changes. The words washed over me as I stared at his face. So familiar, yet suddenly foreign. Was this the same person who had toasted our friendship just 3 years ago? "The board has unanimously voted to offer you a buyout," he finally said, sliding a document toward me. "We feel it is best for all parties." I glanced at the terms: a payment equivalent to 3 months' salary, no equity compensation, a complete departure from the company I had co-founded, built, and poured my life into, for pennies on the dollar. "How long have you been planning this, Jake?" My voice sounded hollow even to my own ears. His expression changed, hardened. "About a year. Nothing personal, just business. You are a technical guy, Maurice. You were never meant to run a company." Something inside me snapped. I stood up, shouting about betrayal and theft. I called him every name I could think of. I threw the buyout papers across the room. In retrospect, my breakdown played perfectly into Jake's narrative. The board members exchanged knowing glances. The lawyer made notes. Jake looked at me with practiced concern. "I think we can all see why this transition is necessary," he said quietly. Security escorted me from the building. Employees I had hired and mentored watched in shock as I was marched out like a criminal. By afternoon, my keycard access was revoked, and my email returned bounce messages. When I arrived home, still in a daze, I found Stephanie's closet empty and a note on our bed. "I cannot do this anymore, Maurice. Your obsession with Jake and the company has left no room for us. I hope you find peace." I disappeared into a bottle of whiskey for 3 days. I ignored calls from everyone: my parents, my few remaining friends, even the 2 employees who reached out in concern. When I finally emerged, I discovered my company accounts were completely locked. My personal items from the office had been delivered to my apartment door in a cardboard box. A loyal employee sent me a screenshot of Jake's company-wide email. "It is with sadness that I announce Maurice has chosen to leave Next Level Solutions following some personal difficulties." While we will miss his early technical contributions, we wish him well in his future endeavors. I will be continuing as CEO to carry our vision forward. The final blow came in the form of a press release announcing Jake as the sole CEO of Next Level Solutions, with a quote about carrying on the vision I had when founding the company. I hit rock bottom. I slept in my car outside the office one night, watching employees come and go. I saw Jake arrive in a brand new luxury SUV, laughing on his phone as he entered the building that should have been partly mine. Then came the legal papers. A cease and desist threatening litigation if I contacted any next-level employees or clients. Jake had not just taken my company. He was attempting to erase my very existence from it. I might have stayed in that dark place forever, if not for a chance encounter. I was at a coffee shop, unshaven and disheveled, when someone tapped my shoulder. "Maurice, is that you?" It was Alicia Ramirez, the CEO of our first major client. I had worked directly with her team for months. "I almost did not recognize you," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "What happened? Jake told us you had a breakdown and abandoned the company." For the first time since my ouster, I told someone the truth. All of it. Alicia listened without interruption, her expression darkening. "That explains a lot," she said when I finished. "Jake has been bad-mouthing you to clients for months. Little comments here and there about your instability and technical limitations. I never believed it, not after seeing your work ethic firsthand." Her words were both devastating and strangely motivating. If Jake was working so hard to destroy my reputation, perhaps I was not as powerless as I thought. That night, I showered, shaved, and cleared the empty bottles from my apartment. The next morning, I called Daniel Weiss, a college friend who had become a business attorney. "Based on what you are telling me, Jake made some critical legal errors," Daniel said after hearing my story. "The original company formation documents you signed protect you more than he realizes. And if he has been transferring intellectual property without proper authorization, that is a clear breach of fiduciary duty." A spark of hope ignited. I drove to my parents' house and retrieved the external hard drives where I had backed up company documents over the years, a precaution I had taken since our earliest days. Meanwhile, Tara, the developer who had warned me about Jake's secret meetings, reached out through a personal email. "I quit last week," she wrote. "But before I left, I copied all internal communications regarding your removal. What they did was wrong, and I cannot be part of it." Another ally emerged in Richard Foster, our first investor who had been gradually pushed out of decision-making by Jake. "I voted against your removal," he told me over coffee. "Jake orchestrated a systematic campaign to isolate you. When I objected, I was told my small stake did not entitle me to question the board's decisions. With Daniel's legal guidance, I built a case documenting Jake's fraud, intellectual property theft, and breach of fiduciary duty. We gathered evidence from my backups, Tara's documents, and Richard's board communications. I also created a strategic plan to approach key clients with evidence of Jake's deceptions regarding project timelines and capabilities. Several had experienced service issues since my departure, problems I could have prevented or fixed. As I rebuilt my professional life, Stephanie returned. She found me working at my desk, surrounded by organized files rather than empty bottles. "You look like yourself again," she said cautiously. "The man I fell in love with." "I am finding my way back," I replied. We had a long conversation about the future, not just about us, but about what justice would look like for me. With my evidence compiled, we filed legal proceedings against Jake and the board members who had facilitated the fraud. The complaint detailed every step of Jake's scheme, supported by documents, emails, and witness statements. The response was immediate. Jake called me directly for the first time since my ousting. "Let us be reasonable, Maurice," he said, his voice missing its usual confidence. "I can improve the settlement offer, 30% of your original equity. A consulting position. Just drop this lawsuit before it hurts everyone." Not good enough, Jake. Not even close. My technical knowledge proved invaluable in the legal battle. I had access to backup systems Jake thought were deleted. I could document exactly how and when intellectual property had been transferred. I could prove which innovations were mine. The final turning point came when a respected tech journalist published a detailed exposé of Jake's actions based partly on information I had provided and independently verified. The article went viral in the industry, with former employees coming forward to corroborate my account. The fallout was swift and severe. Major clients suspended their contracts with next-level solutions pending an investigation. Board members began distancing themselves from Jake, claiming they had been misled about the circumstances. Jake made increasingly desperate attempts to control the narrative. He threatened former employees who spoke to the press. He tried to intimidate me with counter-lawsuits. He claimed I was engaged in a vendetta against the company we built. None of it worked. His credibility was shattered. The board called an emergency meeting and voted to remove Jake as CEO, the same fate he had orchestrated for me months earlier. Ironically, I declined the offer to return to Next Level. Instead, I negotiated a proper buyout at fair market value, which included compensation for the intellectual property Jake had attempted to steal. The settlement allowed me to start fresh on my terms. I launched a new company, Integrity Systems, with a foundational principle of ethical business practices. I implemented safeguards I wished I had at Next Level: transparent financial reporting, protected co-founder rights, and clear intellectual property attribution. I rehired several talented employees who had left Next Level after my departure, including Tara, who became my chief technology officer. Richard Foster, our original investor, backed my new venture with twice his original investment in Next Level. I am betting on the right founder this time, he told me. 6 months after the settlement, I ran into Jake at an industry conference. He looked diminished somehow, less polished, less confident. Word had spread about his actions, and he was struggling to find new opportunities. Maurice, he acknowledged stiffly as we passed in a hallway. I simply nodded and continued walking. I had nothing left to say to him. Integrity Systems landed its first major contract that same week, ironically with a client who had left Next Level during the scandal. Their procurement officer specifically requested that I personally oversee their implementation. "We want to work with someone we can trust," she explained. Later that month, I heard from a former board member that a financial audit had uncovered evidence Jake had been embezzling funds from Next Level for years. Criminal charges were being considered. While the news should have brought satisfaction, I felt only a profound sense of waste, of friendship, of trust, of potential. I found peace in building a company that reflected my values. We grew steadily without cutting corners or compromising ethics. I maintained reasonable working hours and rebuilt my relationship with Stephanie, who had stood by me through the darkest period of my life. 1 year after my new beginning, I visited the old Next Level office building. Standing across the street, I felt nothing but gratitude for the painful lessons I had learned. The betrayal had stripped away everything, but in doing so, it had revealed what truly mattered. As I turned to leave, my phone pinged with news that Jake was facing criminal charges for financial fraud. Justice, it seemed, had its own timeline. Today, I am in a very different place than I was 3 years ago. Integrity Systems employs 32 people and serves clients across the country. We recently opened a second office in Austin. More importantly, I mentor young entrepreneurs about the pitfalls I encountered and how to avoid them. Always get everything in writing, I tell them. Trust is essential, but verification is non-negotiable. I recognize now the warning signs I ignored with Jake. The subtle credit taking, the secret meetings, the gradual isolation from clients and information, the excessive charm deployed whenever questions arose. My blind loyalty prevented me from seeing the truth until it was almost too late. The experience transformed me, not just as a businessman, but as a person. I am more discerning now, but not cynical. I have learned to trust again, but with proper boundaries and legal protections. I value character over charisma, actions over words. My relationship with Stephanie is stronger than ever. We got engaged last month, choosing to build our future on honest communication and mutual respect. She helped me see that losing everything allowed me to rebuild on a stronger foundation. You needed to hit rock bottom to discover what you are really made of, she told me on the night I proposed. I now teach a business ethics course at the local community college, sharing real-world examples of how cutting corners and betraying trust ultimately destroys value. Students are often shocked by my candor about my own experiences, but that transparency is part of my new approach to life. Surprisingly, several former next-level board members have apologized for their role in my ouster. 2 have even become advisors to Integrity Systems, bringing valuable lessons from the collapse of their previous venture after Jake's departure. "We should have listened to you," one admitted. "We were seduced by Jake's vision of rapid growth at any cost. When I lost everything, I discovered who my true friends were. My parents who let me crash in their spare room. The employees who risked their jobs to tell the truth. The clients who gave me a second chance. These relationships now form the core of my support system, and I cherish them above any business success." Last month, I ran into Jake at a coffee shop. A sad coincidence. His criminal case had ended in a plea deal with community service, but his reputation in the industry was destroyed. He looked tired, humbled, almost unrecognizable from the charismatic partner I had once trusted implicitly. For a moment, our eyes met, and I expected to feel anger, but instead found only compassion. His betrayal had cost him far more than it ultimately cost me. Integrity Systems now has a valuation 3 times what Next Level achieved under Jake's leadership. We grew more slowly, but more sustainably. We prioritize client outcomes over flashy metrics. Most importantly, our company culture celebrates collaboration rather than internal competition. My journey taught me that setbacks, even devastating ones, can become the foundation for comebacks. I lost a company, but found my purpose. I was betrayed, but discovered genuine loyalty. I hit bottom, but built something better than I had before. If there is wisdom in my story, it is this: character matters more than success. Integrity is not just a company name, but a way of life. In business, as in life, how you treat others ultimately determines how the world treats you. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? How did you recover? And what lessons did you learn? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life business lessons. And remember, sometimes losing everything is the beginning of finding something better. Thank you for listening, and I wish you success built on honesty and integrity.